The story goes that Charles Dickens was apparently famous for the unapologetic way he would go about rebuffing and resisting dinner invitations from his friends and his associates. It was something that he was doing in order to maintain and protect his own prolific creative output. And although I'm certainly not going to be suggesting that we ought to disengage from socialising or become reclusives of some kind, I do think the fact that Dickens was so incredibly insistent and intentional about minimising interruptions and engagements, well, it does suggest to us that he may have been ahead of his time in more ways than just one. See, studies have now shown that it can take up to half an hour, 30 minutes to regain focus if interrupted whilst engaged in the kind of deep thinking that's necessary for doing complex work. It's the consequence of this phenomenon known as attention residue, this sort of mini hangover that the brain encounters whenever it's forced to disengage from doing highly focused work in order to go and do something else. It hampers our cognitive performance, dilutes our capacity for focus, which means that interruptions are the enemy. I mean, they are the troll under the bridge. And it also means that actually learning how to develop the kind of practices whereby we can safeguard ourselves against the noise and the clamour of distraction is becoming an increasingly vital attribute in enabling us to do our very best work. See, there's only 24 hours in a day, right? There's only 7 days in a week, 365 days, give or take, in a year. There's no getting around those numbers. There's no negotiating with them, which isn't necessarily a problem, but it does make time a currency, a commodity, if you like. And with how finite a resource that time ultimately is, it is the most precious commodity of all. So the important thing then is not in having more time, but rather optimizing how we utilize it, or as Stephen R. Covey once wrote, the key is not in spending time, but investing it. And that's really what deep work is ultimately all about. It's about deploying and investing our time in the most effective and efficient way possible in order for us to ignite our full cognitive potential so that we can improve our qualitative and quantitative output, so that we can do better work and more of it. But what does it actually look like for us to build these types of practices into our work life, and what are the things that we need to understand or learn or appropriate in order for us to be able to render the very best from ourselves and to produce at an elite level?